TPR. There we go.
Now what am I doing with this?
Go into it.
You want it, Sam?
It started. Okay, today we're at Knowsley Council in Kirby, in Highton, regarding a 5G tower in Kirby. So we've got one of the guys who are going in. Hello, Gary. You tell people why we're here.
But they're increasing the clusters. We've put forward objections. We did have 3 people to speak with objections, me being one of them. They've decided for the 3 of us we get a minute each. So now we've knocked it down to 1 person doing 3. Which still isn't enough, but we'll see how we go. So we're about to go in and we'll be filming proceedings. Okay. Okay.
This will be a public meeting, and members always have data protection responsibilities and therefore should not mention any personal or private information that may have been shared with them by their constituents. Please can we also take the opportunity to remind all committee members of protocol in terms of any questions arising from speakers' comments. In the first instance, the Chair will invite the Planning Officer to give any points of clarifications on the matters raised by the Speaker. If committee members have any questions about Speaker's comments, they are to be addressed to officers via the Chair in the first instance. If any further clarification is still required, the Chair may invite the Speaker to respond. The Planning Officer will then provide any further clarification if required. Thank you, colleagues. Good evening, colleagues. This meeting is being live streamed on Knowsley Accountants portal, public portal. In this respect, committee members are asked to ensure that they switch on their microphone before speaking and switch it off again afterwards, in order that the cameras in the room can follow the proceedings and speakers correctly for the live stream. In addition, would everyone ensure that their mobile phones and laptops are turned to silent, and where possible, would members please ensure mobile phones remain off the desktop to avoid any distractions. Thank you, colleagues. Turning to the agenda, apologies. Are there any apologies, Steve?
Yeah, we received apologies from Councillors Bannon, Councillor Dunn and Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Have there been any?
We've not received any check.
Thanks, Steve. Item 2, minutes. Are the minutes of the meeting of committee held on the 4th of June 2026 agreed as a correct record? Thank you for that. Item number 3, application for planning permission. 3A, to consider the following 2 applications in relation to Highton Critical, Highton Lane, Highton Knowsley, L36, 7XH. 25/00458/FUL. Change of use of the existing redundant pavilion building to a flexible use falling within Class C, commercial business and service. F1, learning and non-residential institutions, or F2, local community uses, and the erection of 84 dwellings, provision of roads and sewers, open space and other associated works. And application 25/00459/LBC, listed building consent for improvements and repairs to the pavilion building associated with the change of use to a flexible use falling with use Class A, commercial business and service. F1, learning, non-residential institutions, and F2, local community uses. Mark Quinn, would you like to present this item?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The application is sorry, good evening, members. The application is set out on pages 5 to 51 of your agenda. I draw your attention to a couple of discrepancies in the report. On page 5, under representations, it should be 25 representations, comprising 23 objections. On page 6, in the list of planning obligations, it should be £5,000 for the monitoring of the submitted travel plan. And following further negotiation with the applicant in relation to the trigger for the completion of the works to the listed building, this has been changed due prior to the occupation of the 30th dwelling. The planning application is for a change of use of existing redundant pavilion building to a flexible use falling within use classes E, commercial business and service, F1, learning and non-residential institutions, or F2, local community uses, and the rest of 84 developments. The listed building consent comprises numerous improvements and repairs to the pavilion building, which are set out in full on pages 8 and 9 of your agenda. The application site comprises 2.2 hectares of privately owned and unmanaged green space, which includes a Grade 2 listed pavilion building. The site is bounded by the River Olt to the northern boundary, and existing residential to the northwest and western boundaries, and Haytham Lane to the southern boundary. As a result of the publicity, 25 representations have been received, 23 objecting to the proposal and 2 making comments. The grounds of objection are set out in full on pages 10 to 13 of your agenda. The main issues to consider in determination of this application are how we need the development of open space, the change of use of the pavilion building, highway safety, design, residential amenity, listed building considerations, flood risk and drainage, trees and landscape, and ecology and development contributions. The accommodation mix will comprise 18 one-bed properties, 42 two-bed properties, 16 three-bed properties, and 8 four-bed properties. In terms of housing need, the development of this site will contribute to the council's house building target, and given that the development would be to provide 100% affordable housing, would assist with demand for affordable housing in the borough. This should be given significant weight in favour of the proposed development. In terms of the development of open space, the application site is not allocated as a playing field in the local plan, has not been used as a playing field in the last 5 years, and is not identified as available cricket provision in the council's 2021 playing pitch assessment. For the purposes of assessing this application, the proposed development would not result in the loss of a playing fields or sporting facility. Following consultation with the England Cricket Board and Lancashire Cricket Foundation, they have stated they would strongly object to the permanent loss of Highland Club as a cricket facility without a replacement facility in the borough being identified and installed. The status of the application site means that the loss of a former cricket facility would not warrant refusal of the application, given the proposal satisfies policy CS21 in the local plan and paragraph 104 in the National Planning Policy Framework. Nevertheless, given the concerns raised by the English Cricket Board and Lancashire Cricket Foundation about the future provision of cricket in Knowsley, the applicant has agreed to provide a developer contribution of £70,000 to be secured for a replacement cricket facility in the borough. The precise location of the 6-pitch square will be confirmed at a later date. In terms of highway safety, the application is supported by a transport statement and a technical note, which concludes provide sufficient preservation display development would not result in unacceptable highway safety impacts. The impacts of the development on capacity of the roundabout have been assessed and it's been demonstrated the proposal would not cause the junction to operate over capacity. The scheme would require improvements to pedestrian and improvements side road crossings. Bus stop enhancements would also be required, including the installation of access curves and a new bus shelter with access curve at the existing bus stop. A residential travel plan is required for the development to promote the use of public transport, walking and cycling opportunities, and traffic regulation over the car parking proposed for the dwellings will be in accordance with the supplementary plan document. Proposed parking for the pavilion would be acceptable, taking account of floor space building and the proposed uses. In conclusion, the proposed development is located in a sustainable location and would not have an unacceptable impact on the highway network or result in severe impacts on the highway network. In terms of design, the layout has been designed to ensure it has a strong frontage down Eastern Lane. The taller three-storey apartment buildings, as you can see in the photo on screen, have been sited adjacent to Ivy Lane as focal buildings in prominent positions, and to ensure that the tallest buildings are sited away from the listed pavilion in order to minimise harm to the setting of the listed building. Amendments have been secured to some house type designs by way of incorporating feature elevations to dwellings on corner plots, reduction in the amount of render and timber detail into the apartment elevations, and incorporating stone sills and lintels to the dwellings and minor changes to the layout, improving the impact on the listed building, security and residential amenity. Turning to residential amenity, the separation distances between new and existing dwellings would exceed the minimum distances set out in the new residential development supplementary plan document. Separation distances within the site generally in accordance with the SPD, although there's a small number of dwellings where the front-to-front distances are below the required 20-metre minimum distance. The separation will be across the road where a lesser degree of privacy will be expected, and 18.5 metres will still provide a reasonable degree of privacy and is considered to be acceptable. In addition, this affords a better design as the parking spaces for some of the dwellings are in the parking court at the rear, so the street scenes is not dominated by car parking. In terms of heritage, the former pavilion building, which you can see on the screen now, is Grade 2 listed building. The impacts of the proposal on both the building from the repairs and from the wider development of the setting of the listed building need to be considered. The proposed works to the listed building are acceptable, subject to the submission of specialist surveys and details of materials which can be secured by planning conditions. The proposed works would ensure the preservation and enhancement of the listed building in the long term, which would result in public benefits from the reuse of zones. The impacts of the proposed houses on the setting of the listed building would result in a moderate level of less than substantial harm as a result of the loss of the associated cricket ground, bowling green and open character of the site, and the development of 84 new modern style dwellings. However, the harms outweighed by the public benefits associated with the proposal, bringing the listed building back into use. In terms of flood risk and drainage, the application is supported by a flood risk assessment. The lead local flood authority has assessed this information, and subject to the reciting of the attenuation pond floor levels for some plots being increased by 150 millimetres, the site would remain flood-free during all fluvial flood events and would not contribute to flooding upland. The detailed drainage strategy can be secured by a planning condition, but is likely to comprise water butts for water harvesting and reuse, permeable paving, and a detention basin. In terms of trees and landscaping, to facilitate the proposed development, the removal of one Category B tree to facilitate site access and one group of trees on the site frontage adjacent to the existing site access will be required for removal. The removal of 2 further trees along the site frontage is recommended on arboricultural grounds that they have limited future potential. To mitigate this loss, 81 new trees are proposed to be planted throughout the site. The tree mitigation is considered to be acceptable. The proposed tree planting will be supplemented with hedge and shrub planting throughout the site, including supplementary hedge planting along Payton Lane frontage by retaining the majority of the existing hedge down the lane. In terms of ecology, the application is supported by a preliminary ecology assessment and ecological enhancement plan. These documents are being reviewed by the Council's ecology advisors, who have confirmed they have no objections subject to planning conditions requiring the provision of bats and bird nesting boxes and the validation report for the treatment of Japanese knotweed. In terms of biodiversity net gain, 10% net gain in biodiversity is not currently achieved. However, with on-site compensation, the development will be capable of delivering the 10% net gain. In terms of developer contributions, in order to mitigate the impacts of the development, planning contributions are required to secure public open space enhancements, the implementation and monitoring of the social value strategy, the monitoring of the travel plan, the provision of a bus shelter on the eastern side of Hazel Lane, for the long-term monitoring of the on-site BNG significant enhancements, and planning obligations are also required to secure a minimum 10% affordable hours and to secure the delivery of the repair and refurbishment work for the listed building, and to secure a future pedestrian link between the site and the public footpath to the east of the road. In conclusion, the proposed development would result in the delivery of 84 new affordable homes, which must be given significant weight in favour of the proposed development. The impact of the development will lead to less than substantial harm on the listed building, and the harm is considered to be outweighed by the public benefits of the scheme in the provision of 84 affordable units and the refurbishment and reuse of listed development buildings. The proposal would be acceptable in terms of highway safety, impacts on residential amenity, drainage, flood risk, noise, contaminated land and trees, landscape, and subject to the necessary mitigation and planning conditions. The recommendation is that members delegate authority to the head of planning to grant planning permission and listed building consent, subject to the provisions set out on pages 43 to 47 of the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mark. Have any members got any questions for the officers relating to this application? Councillor Costello?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just want to put a few comments on the record, so then I'll be honest with you, just got a few points on this. I just want to put on record my concerns with the community around the loss of this green space, this historic site set on the ward, and the loss of a key part of Hayden's heritage and historic centre. From my conversation with residents, the community has been quite clear their preference on this would have been for the redevelopment of this site as a community space, rather than as a housing development. Although I do appreciate the council's position here of trying to meet housing targets and provide that extra resource. I'd just like a bit of clarification, if that's okay, a few points. The first goes around this classification as green space and public open space, which I think is a relatively unfair designation given it's privately owned land which hasn't been publicly accessible probably around the last several years. So I think there's a quite heavy emphasis within the report back and the recommendation that because there's been no use of the facility, the sports and recreation facility by the public, it's therefore okay to build on, which strikes me as a little bit odd because there's been no opportunity for the public to use that facility. That kind of ties into a few bits under the policy CS21, which obviously places better emphasis on the use of the public use of the land, which is further of a self-fulfilling prophecy where it feels quite unfair, I think, for local residents, so I just felt it was important to raise that on record. There's also a requirement of the CS21 that I thought that was a green space and maintained in the area, which in the case of SRA 14, which is Bluebell, there's a deficiency in means green space provision for children, young people and orphans. So I think that the opportunity presented by the developers of this site into a community space would actually be more aligned with that CS21 policy objective. And finally, on this point, the CS21 Part 3 refers to the harms of visual and residential amenities, historical and cultural value. And my understanding is the Pavilion 2 list of the Pavilion includes the view from the Pavilion and the fact that this main green space, which is a historic part of Brighton, is going to be sort of eliminated as well as this development that I feel goes against the objective. So some clarification on that point would be valuable. I just also want to pick up on the traffic, which obviously I think everybody who lives around there is aware that Heighton Lane does get congested. I think the comments from the applicants, which I think are quite flippant, about justifying the community benefits of walking and alternative transport, I think that really shows the appropriate level of engagement with resident concerns. So just to close with that, I understand the council is actively interested in the rural community and the housing provision targets. I understand the position the council's in. And I also would like to thank the officers for the hard work that's clearly gone into getting significant mitigations out of this development, this application, which I do think will provide long-term benefits to the community on the playing fields and the alternative facilities in the area. But it's obviously, I just want to put on record that it's quite a basic bill. I think for all the residents to swallow. So yeah, thank you for letting us some comments and any response.
Thanks, Councillor Costello. Alma, any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Costello. You bear with me, I'll go through one by one, if that's okay. There's quite a lot to cover in that. I know it's in terms of the points that you made, and I'll just cover them over. I know they went directly for a response. But in terms of the heritage, yeah, the list of buildings is essential to the consideration of this application, and including its setting as well. The important test we've got with the list of buildings is the public benefit test. So does any harm caused outweigh the benefits of it? There's been quite a lot of dialogue with the applicants about that, and the fundamental part of this application is to improve the standard of the list of buildings. I think it's in a really poor state of disrepair at the moment, and the negotiations we've had with the applicant means that will be brought up to standard by the time the dwellings occupied. And in terms of the setting that you talked about as well and the views from it, again, that's picked up in the report, and again, we've got the public benefit test there against the improvements of the building itself, but also the provision in the codes again, which, as we said in the report, we've got to give that really significant weight given the housing targets that we've got to meet. In terms of the public and the perception of it, absolutely, I understand that. There is a feel there at the moment, but what we've got to decide is what's in front of us at the moment. We can't reasonably look at alternatives from the plan applications. We've just got to look at what's proposed. And the fundamental test for that is whether it complies with the development plan. So we've got quite a detailed report that we've got that goes into that, and in particular the open space elements of it and the heritage elements of it. The right test for that is the policy CS21 test. And again, we balance that out, and there is an overall surplus of open space in that local area. I understand what you say in terms of the access side of things, but that's not something that's in the council's power to control. I'm afraid that is a private site, it's owned by a private landowner, and at the moment it looks open, but it's not. So we'll be knocking on the planning laws to stop the landowner putting 2 metre high fence around it, and that's it. Close off and done with. So I think in that sense we've addressed the policy test in there, and we've highlighted the compliance with the policy CS21 and why that is the case in there. I think the other things to note as well as part of that, there is also the mitigation and reference as well. So there's a sum of £70,000 which has been secured in Section 116, and that's to provide alternative provision elsewhere in the borough. There is also, as part of this development as well, a community sub, and I'll just get the precise figure for you, apologies, of 109, almost £110,000 for public space enhancements in the Brighton area as well, to mitigate the impact of this development. And I understand that a lot of that will be directed towards the industrial fifth as well, which is the application side. I think in terms of the planning grounds, that's hopefully addressed the matters that you've got. Lou, I don't know if you've got anything more from a high risk point of view.
Okay, thank you. So from a high-risk perspective, we've assessed the site based on arrival and departure rates that come into that junction. And when we do assess that, it has shown that junction can cope with the additional traffic that will be passed through it. It didn't trigger any significant uplift in a need for anything else on top of what is there existing, so it wouldn't trigger the severe impact on traffic. I do understand the perception of that junction. It can get busy at times, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to secure mitigation in terms of improving the walking routes. We've secured, improvements to the footways and the connectivity between the deafening generators in the area as well. So that will be delivered as part of the development as well to encourage more people to walk and cycle to the nearby facilities. So from a high-risk perspective, just didn't trigger the severe impact that would allow us to object to the plan application in this case.
Councillor
Yeah, I come from this slightly different direction, but I agree with what a lot's been said already. Condition 15, page 45. What I would like to bring to the officer's attention is Highton, or High Tune as it was known. It's possibly from history gone by, the days of the Vikings. This site was known as the landing place for Viking ships when the River Alt was navigable, and is possibly the most important and significant archaeological site, not only in Knowsley Borough, but well beyond that, covering the Dark Ages, if I can put it that way. And what I would like is to see that condition made a lot more stringent. So I'd like the council to explain further what it means by a programme of archaeological works. Is it a full survey? Who will carry out the programme of works? And will the results be brought back to councillors, if possible, before a decision is made on this application that we're considering tonight? I give it an example, for instance. I don't know the history of it, but in West Derby they have the castle, and it's just to bring such significance to West Derby and the history, which Highton is linked to as it happens. So I would hate for the council to
principle of development. The principle of development, the proposed use classes, which is classed as a residential institution. Therefore, such uses are acceptable in principle in this location, subject to no impacts on neighbour immunity or the character of the area. In accordance to Wington notes that the property has the ability to operate as a family assessment centre for one family already without planning permission, and that has been confirmed in the local development certificate granted. In relation to the conversion to office use, this would be small scale and consistent with the main residential use of the site. And overall, the principle of that is considered acceptable. In relation to highways, 116, the development should be used on highway grounds if it would be unacceptable. It is also 1,000. There are 2 parking spaces proposed, which is the same as the existing building, and also off-road parking available within the area. This is considered to provide sufficient parking. There is, in addition, the ability to park on parts of Yorkshire Drive without blocking access to a driveway. concerns have been raised by residents in relation to highways and because no parents and children property. However, the children will be very young and dependent on their parents. It is considered that the use of the property for up to two families would be acceptable. However, if the were granted, we recommend to secure this by planning to move up to two families. There will be some noise associated with coming to going from the property in form of car doors and the noise engines. However, such noise would be relatively infrequent and will not take place late at night or early in the morning. The level of coming to going will not be significantly from that associated with the family home. And also that the impacts would not be significantly greater than the allowed use of premises a family centre for one family. The conversion of the garage to office use would also not cause harm to the community. And this is supported by the views of the council's environmental health department, who have no objections to the proposal. And overall, it's considered acceptable in terms of impact on the community. In relation to crime and antisocial behaviour, family assessment centres must be registered with Ofsted to operate legally, and the applicants confirm that they will apply for the centre to be registered. If the family assessment centre is granted, it will operate in accordance with the plan. It will be agreed with Ofsted, and any issues should be communicated.
You've got 3 minutes to speak, and please remain in the seat following your presentation. Keith will start the clock.
I'll start.
So I just wanted to provide a bit more context that we will be an Ofsted registered and governance provider. We're a small residential family centre with a maximum of 2 families at any one time. We seek to provide a safe therapeutic environment for parents, which will consist of one parent and child. We will, the residents will follow structure program. Visitors are only permitted, and those visitors will be professionals. No family or friends will be permitted to the centre. Any identified safeguarding risks will be managed in partnership with children's services and other agencies. We don't anticipate any significant increase in traffic beyond normal family home that was contact. The service will provide support and local resource to enable vulnerable families to stay in the local area and receive special support from the existing networks that they place no miles away. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please remain in your seat. Please any questions. Our planning officers, please provide any points of clarification on the matters raised by the applicant. Members, have any questions for the officers about the presentation from the applicant? So, Tommy Brown.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to ask a couple of questions to them. We need to make sure vulnerable people, vulnerable families, vulnerable children are given the necessary and quality support needed so they can move forward in their lives. But we also want to make sure in that process are able to work together with the local community. So I've just got a couple of questions, if possible.
Sorry, Councillor Brennan, can you direct the questions firstly to the officer?
Yeah, sorry. I'll just ask a couple of questions. So the first question would be, how long would the children and family be placed in the facility?
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks, Councillor Brennan. The application says that it's been in 12 weeks, Councillor Brennan, that the family will be placed in the facility.
Okay. Yeah. The second question would be in terms of safeguarding and risk, A, for the children and families, but also the impact on the local community. What the processes would be in place to make sure that happens. And I'm glad to see there would be Ofsted would be used as a quality process that be, you know, necessary to move forward?
Yeah, Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Brown, I think the key thing with this type of facility is that there is a requirement for it to be offset registered for local authorities to place any families in it. I think that gives some assurance, and I think it's part of that process, and as detailed in the application as well, the operator will undertake risk assessments before anybody is placed, and that's in conjunction with the local authority as well. So that would identify both any issues that may occur from the family, but also any third parties as well, and that will be highlighted immediately as that happens. My understanding as well, and Nicola needs to know if that's okay, is that you would need offsets to begin right at the start as well. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, just a final question really in terms of that is looking at it. It was mentioned that would be a resource for the community. You know, we want that to be part of the community. What plans will be in place for, you know, that facility to reach out and be part of the good neighbour to the developments in that area?
How can you go?
Chair, I think it's all for
Nicola, can I bring you in? Can you respond to Councillor Brennan, please?
Yeah, we'd love to support the families to engage in the local community and obviously engage with neighbours. We've got a local risk assessment policy, so we would take on board any concerns raised by local neighbours and address them. And we've got 24-hour staffing and huge oversight from management team and senior leaders, so we would address any issues that arise as they did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. There's no further questions. You can send to your seat, man. Before I ask the committee to vote on the officer recommendation, does any member wish to move an alternative motion? No.
Chair, with respect, I didn't want to ask the speaker any questions, but I have some questions for the plan offset, but I haven't been invited in to address him. Would it be possible to address him now?
Yes, thanks, Councillor Smith. Alan, sorry, would you like to ask a question, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Al. I've got a number of questions with reference to the... What's that tune? Okay. With reference to the Knowsley local plan, and does this application conform with the local plan? Particularly, we have a conflict with CS2, SUE2, CS19, T1 and DM10. Local context and visits. I believe visits. I believe there's already issues with vehicles parking in the area and getting access to the domestic premises. So there's just some of the questions now to the answer there.
Councillor Smith, Alan, respond.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Smith. A lot of the points you've raised, Councillor Smith, are in the officer reports already, and we've gone through the policies. In terms of the appropriateness of a residential area, it's a residential institution, and that's the kind of location that we would expect to see this type of facility. We believe, as we set out in the report, does comply with policy CS2 and CS19. We do believe it's appropriate, and we do believe that the level of activity in accordance with that is appropriate as well for the property. We have gone through it in detail.
Targeted support and assessment from experience. We have to recognise that there's a shortage of these types of specialist provisions, which often results in many families being placed at considerable distance from their home and support networks. Councillor Brennan raised a number of key questions there around the safety and also the quality, and also how the provider will be engaging with the communities. And I think there was robust answers there. This proposal will also increase our local capacity for our children and our families. And we have to remind ourselves we are also core parents this evening. So where appropriate to access and services close to home, keeping families local, and maintain support networks to reduce the disruption associated with out-of-area placement. In my view, this will be a positive addition to the borough provisions for vulnerable children and families, better outcomes for children, and it will be supporting this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knowsley. Any further questions? Before we ask the committee to vote on the officer recommendation, does any member wish to move an alternative motion? The recommendation on page 53 of the agenda is that delegate authority to be granted to the head of planning and building control to grant planning permission subject to the conditions set out in the attached schedule or such additional or omitted conditions that the head of planning for building control in consultation with the chair of the planning committee considers appropriate. Before I take a vote, can all members ensure that their microphones are switched off? Can I see a show of hands? All in favour? Thank you. All those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The recommendation has been approved. Can we move on to 3C? Application 25/00681/FQL, the installation of 3 antennas, one on the GPS node and associated ancillary development thereto in Chapter 8, Town Centre, Knowsley, LP2 8RB. And the proposed will be please present this item.
Thank you, Chair. Just to note, there is an additional information sheet that's been prepared in advance of the meeting that relates to the representation proceedings. So the application was put aside by the letter sent to 46 neighbouring properties and by a site notice. 5 individual objections from 8 other persons were received, consisting of 4 individual letters and 1 letter template sent by 80 persons, which cancelled 1 individual representation. In relation to the principle of development, NPPF Power 120 states that the use of existing masts, buildings and other structures for new electronic communications capability should be encouraged. Power 123 of the NPPF states that local planning authorities must determine applications on planning grounds only. They should not seek to prevent competition between different operators, question the need for electronic communication system, or set out safeguards different from the International Commission guidelines for public exposure. The proposal would use an existing site within an antenna over roof, complying with the requirements to locate such installations where possible on existing sites to minimise visual content and impacts. Overall, the site would use an existing telecommunication site in a town centre in accordance with NPPF Power 120. In relation to neighbour immunity, the proposal would result in additional antennae on the roof in an existing building. There are no residential dwellings in close proximity to the site that would be significantly affected in visual terms, such as by a change in elevation. Overall, there would be no harm to residential immunity through noise, loss of light, or impact on outlook. In relation to health, NPPF Power 123 states that local authorities must determine applications on planning grounds only, and they should not set health safeguards different from the International Commission guidelines for public exposure. The proposed installation is supported by a declaration of conformity, confirming that the equipment will operate within internationally recognised public exposure limits. National planning policy is clear that where a proposal demonstrates compliance with exposure guidelines, this is the appropriate mechanism for safeguarding public health within the planning process. In order to depart from the policy of NPPF Power 123, there would need to be a demonstrable site-specific evidence of the potential for harm from electromagnetic fields. There are currently 5 existing antennae at the site, and there is no evidence that an additional 3 antennae would result in harm to health from EMF or site that made the location particularly sensitive. The applicant was confirmed that the certificate considers the cumulative impacts of all developments. Publicly accessible areas must comply with public exposure limits. The submitted declaration confirms that exposure levels in publicly accessible locations will remain within those limits. This complies with National Planning Policy, Paragraph 123, and overall the proposal does not result in harm to health, but which is defined for refusal indication. In relation to impacts on the character of the area, the antennae will be located between 13 and 16 metres above the ground. The antennae will not be visible up close due to the angle of the building, and will only be visible at a distance from the site. The proposal was involved additional antennae in the building, which currently houses existing antennae. In visual terms, there will be greater quantity of telecommunications equipment concentrated on the roof. However, the existing roof already contains a significant quantity of telecommunications equipment. The addition of 3 extra antennae and associated equipment will not create significant visual difference compared to the current situation. The use of an existing second-house telecommunications equipment is also supported by PPF Power F120. It will have less visual impact on the same telecommunications equipment on an entirely new site. It would reduce the uplift relative to a new mast in a different location. And overall, the proposal will not harm the character of the area. Overall, it's considered that the development is acceptable in principle and will not cause harm in relation to neighbour immunity, health, or the character of the area. In conclusion, it complies with the broad strategy, Knowsley, the UK, and the MPJ.
Thank you, Andrew. Colleagues, I received notification that Mrs. Dean Evans wishes to speak in objection of this application. Would you like to come forward to the microphone? Mrs. Evans, you've got 3 minutes to speak. Please remain in the seat following your presentation. If you use the right hand button to turn around, keep will start the clock when you start speaking. Thank you.
Chair, committee members, please reject this compromised application. The committee report stigmatises major procedural errors and gives a misleading picture of the development. On citing the design that represents an overdevelopment working against Knowsley's local plan by degrading the street scene. Extending this rooftop base station is viewed as exploitation by the imposition of more antennae. This is not a minor addition. The 3 antennas in the GPS node involve 9 substantial pieces of 5G industrial apparatus, creating an even bigger eyesore. Because 5G is directional beamforming technology, the antennas need to have a direct line of sight to lock onto devices from the edge of the roof on a lowish building and all highly visible. The photograph shows 9 existing antennas, not 5. The applicant submitted a seriously defective and invalid mandatory certificate. Residents formally exposed a catalogue of faults, 8 in total, showing that the proposal had been validated based on false, non-compliant data. Then a flawed version 2 to gloss over this was quietly added to after the end of the consultation date, proving this application was legally deficient from the outset and shouldn't have been validated. Ignorance are legal proof. Both versions likely refer to natural liability. Under building principles, the consultation is only working if the public has intelligence relationship. 5 requesting requested is upheld and the legal standard for the fair process. On equality, the parade is a healthcare hub. The council has a statutory duty to protect vulnerable residents with implanted devices like pacemakers. ICNA excludes this population and those with their metal implants. It is not true that only workers face risking public environments. 5G behaves very differently from 4G. Please demand the exact physical radius of the exclusion zone with a scale drawing showing its impact on neighbouring buildings. The burden of proof is on the developer, not the residents. Without this, you lack the evidence to properly evaluate the siting suitability. With no identifiable responsible entity declaring their full company detail, either ignore. This represents a failure of transparency and local accountability, exposing the council through a lack of scrutiny and due diligence. Finally, this application is legally compromised. It has lacked professional vigour from the very beginning. It is unsuitable for this area, and this is all viewed by the residents as a serious matter. Thank you for your time.
Just like to turn your microphone off and remain seated for us. Campaign officer, please provide any points of clarification on by the applicant.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, members. In that sense, I think there's a number of points that Seven has raised. I think the key things to come back to, members, in terms of health, it's very specific what we consider, what we can consider with applications for telecommunication infrastructure. The developer has self-certified that there is IFNA compliance with the IFNA certificate. That is the policy test for us in National Planning Policy Framework. It's all detailed in the reports in front of you. I would just encourage members to read those parts of the reports. The applicants have done what is necessary in order to address the health matters, and as I said, that's the recommendation we have. It's all detailed in the reports.
It's rubbish.
Thank you, Chair.
Members, are there any questions for officers about the presentation from the objector? Please direct them to myself.
Yeah, I have, but you might not work at the moment. There you go. Thank you, Chair. I've just got a question to the Gene that you raised with some concerns, and also with reference to the document 13 talks about what's like that one? Sorry, it's 819 with reference to pacemakers and no. The application conforms to all health conditions. However, it mentions pacemakers here. And I'd like to ask the resident, can she confirm, is it true that insurance companies...
Apologies, Councillor Smith, that question's basically to the officers.
Sorry. Okay. To the planning officer, it's mentioned now, what you said there, but can you confirm, are insurance companies writing exemption clauses for damage done to medical equipment and EMF emitters?
Councillor Smith, thanks for your question. What I would say in that sense, it's not relevant to the determination of this application.
Oh, you don't know anyone with a pacemaker, no?
Public gallery, they're welcome to attend and observe the meeting. However, if anyone continues to interrupt proceedings, I may have to ask them to leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The report again details the consideration we have given. We have in relation to medical implants, and that's something that we have had regard to. And again, that's very clearly set out in the report in front of you, Councillor Smith. But in particular, the question that you've raised is in relation to insurance companies, and that's not material to this consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah, no one sure.
Thank you, Chair. Can you just ask a further question, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Going back to 813, page 75, it talks about there are no residential dwellings in close proximity. Part of the local plan with reference to town centres, the council were considering investing in or promoting residential premises in the town centre. If this plan is approved, will this prevent residential premises being adopted in the town centre?
Thanks, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Smith. In that sense, the application for you is what we consider. Councillor Smith, we have to have regard to that. What we will do with any applications that there is an opportunity to consult the operator in relation to that, I would not say that this would be, there is already mobile infrastructure within the town centre. They have self-certified that there is compliance with that. In relation more broadly, I would say is that there are plenty of mobile telephone areas where there are houses closer to the site than this is. But again, what is in front of you at the moment is this application, and that's what you're about to consider, and that is the state of play at the moment.
Okay. Chair, may I ask a further question, please?
Yeah, thank you.
On the last occasion, this application was refused.
Yeah.
What changes have taken place since the last application was made for this location? We think it was possibly on the visual objections, yet we're increasing the number of whatever they are on this the space station, these masts and things. So, what's changed with this application? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Smith, I haven't got that refusal in front of me at the moment. What we have done is we have scrutinised this application. We see the application on the merits that it has been submitted with. We have made a thorough assessment, and again, that's covered in the presentation. I think there was some slides showing the visual difference between what's there at the moment and what it would be like proposed. Again, we've fully considered the visual impact in the report, and that's the thousand funds to get, and that's our judgments and our recommendations to members.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Thanks, Alan. Thank you, Mrs. Evans. Could you please return to public gallery? Colleagues, I've also received notification
Well done, Mrs.
that
Evans.
Mr. Will applicants
Good girl.
speaking in support of this application. Would you like to come forward to the microphone?
Oh, here we go.
Mr. Osborne, you have 3 minutes to speak. Please remain in the seat following your presentation and to turn the microphone on to the right button, and then when you finish speaking, turn it on. Keep will start at the clock as soon as you start speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant's PE. The proposed elements such as grade will upgrade the existing mobile network and bring the latest technology to the surrounding area. There is existing telecoms equipment installed on the rooftop, and proposed additional antennas are massed close to the existing equipment and at the same height. The surrounding area is predominantly commercial, and the additional antennas and equipment will allow all end users throughout the shopping area to access the latest technology. Guidance is provided by the NPPF and the local plan, along with the code of practice and wireless network development. Paragraph 119 of the NPPF states that advanced, high quality and reliable communications infrastructure is essential for economic growth and social well-being, and the planning policies and decisions should support the expansion of electronic communications networks. Paragraph 120 of the NPPF states that the number of radio and electronic communications masts and the sites for such installations should be kept to a minimum consistent with the needs of consumers, the efficient operation of the network, and providing for future expansion. The use of existing masts, buildings or other structures should also be encouraged. Being an existing building accommodating telecom equipment, it is considered appropriate to upgrade and deploy the latest technology at this site and not add to additional installations in the area. Regarding visual impact, there are no sensitive heritage assets, statutory listed buildings or conservation areas within direct proximity. Residential amenities should be considered for all existing and future occupants, and the planning officer stated that overall there will be no harm to residential amenities from noise, loss of light or impacts on outlook. Consultation with the local community has been extensive, with specific questions responded to and answered. We submitted a valid ICNIRP certificate setting up compliance with both the national and international standards regarding the level of emissions from the equipment. The health considerations have been set out in the officer's report, and we support its conclusions. We've seen a huge increase in demand for connectivity from the population, whether that's from working from home, coordinating deliveries, homeschooling, or connecting with loved ones. There's been a huge increase in data and mobile usage. We also need to provide network coverage for emergency services, as EE will be the sole network provider for all emergency services. Connectivity is now an expectation and a public benefit rather than a luxury. and our modern lives depend on being able to communicate whenever and wherever. Therefore, we consider that the proposed upgrade to an existing telecoms installation is acceptable and in accordance with both the national policy guidance and the local plan. And it's for these reasons that we kindly request that the application is approved.
Councillor officers, please provide any points of clarification on matters raised by the applicant. Thanks, Alan. Have members got any questions for the officers about the presentation from the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Could you please turn to the public gallery?
Gaslight.
Have members got any questions to the officers relating to this application? No questions. Before I ask the committee to vote on the officer's recommendation, does any member wish to move an alternative motion?
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Smith?
Yes, Chair, just a motion, could I have the vote recorded, please?
Okay.
Just to clarify, we need 3 members to request the recorded vote. Have we got 2 members that requested the recorded vote?
I'll second.
Councillor Smith, Councillor Gaffney?
Thanks, Keith. If we can move the recorded vote, and Councillor Smith can say my phone, sorry. Sorry, Chair. Keith, if we can move to the recorded vote, thank you.
Okay. So we're actually voting on the recommendation contained in the report. So it will be either voting for, against, or abstain. I'll read the names out in alphabetical order, and we'll go through. Councillor Arnold? For. Councillor Bettles?
Against.
Well done.
Councillor Bennett?
For.
Councillor Bryan? For. Councillor Martin?
For.
Councillor Costello? For. Councillor Donnelly?
For.
Councillor Cluth?
For.
Councillor Gaffney?
Nay.
Councillor Gilbertson?
Against.
Councillor Lanigan? For. Councillor Powell?
For.
Councillor Ramparty? For. Councillor Singh?
Well done.
Woo.
Well done, Gary.
Councillor Smith?
Against.
Ian Smith, sorry.
Aye. Yeah.
Councillor Steve Smith?
Against.
Councillor Wiggins?
Against.
Way.
Can you just give me a second just to supplement? So it was 10 votes for and 7 votes against.
Woo.
Thanks, Keith. The recommendation has been approved. We can now move on to item 4, delegated planning decisions. Alan Kilroy, can you present this item?
Thank you, Jason. This is just a list of the applications that have been signed. There will be 83 to 89 of your agenda.
Thanks, Alan. Have any members got any questions? No questions, therefore, coming up this item. Item 5, any other business? Colleagues, there are no further items of any urgent nature. Thank you for your attendance and I declare the meeting.
Well done, Jean. Well done. Is that finished?
I didn't bless Gary. Shame nosy vote.
Oh, absolutely. They ain't got a clue. About... Hey? Okay. Do you want to switch that off?
Did it overheat?
Yeah, several times. But...
That's what you want to say. Bet you haven't got one outside your house, have you, mate? Hey, bet you've got none near your house. Have you? I doubt it. You gaslighter. Absolute gaslighter. I hope you have got one by your house.
Certificate is a problem.
How much danger you cause? Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you got well paid for tonight, lad.
And Alan Kilroe knows the situation as well. We've written to the monitoring officer about this. We'll be following this up. Honestly, in shambles. Hope you enjoy your salary.
What are we doing now, babes?
Going now. We need to get out so they catch them going.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. Are you down there, Jean?
Yeah, we'll get out.
Well, we're...
Is he going to break it out?
I don't know how to get out.
Smash the door.
It's going. Oh, it's just been a big whitewash. Absolute whitewash. All these issues.
I'll tell you what, if you drop it off over at the desk there and then they'll sign you out.
Yeah.
Thanks, boss. Thank
All
you.
right.
Are you out that way, are you?
Where are you going?
No, out this way. No, we're out this way.
Okay.
That's the way that you came in.
I know, but this is the way that everybody's going.
No, they're here.
Just over on the desk there. Yeah, no worries.
I'll get them
From the Echo. Wow.
It's from the Echo, this lady, as if she's going to print the truth about this situation.
I'm just going to report exactly what was
Well,
said.
you can just report.
Just very quickly. I was going to ask you a reaction, but
Well,
I'm because ICNIM actually state on their website they cannot protect, and it's clear they cannot protect people who have got metal implants and pacemakers. They actually state that on their website. Well, if you want to give that comment, I'll put that in my article. But
yes, please.
Well, I'm not getting...
Will it be a balanced
well, I'm going to report exactly what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've raised serious legal issues.
Okay.
The ICNIB certificate is not worth the paper it's written on. It's the only document.
Yeah.
They should have made a decision to agree that, asking for the extra information about the zones because it was reasonable.
Okay,
so they would infringe in consultation. It's a legal process, in my opinion, that's been whitewashed today. And
do you want me to put this in the article?
Only if you put a balance, but will you? I mean,
I can only
Who
take
you
it down
reporting for?
the Echo.
It's the Echo.
You gonna be balanced for the people?
I am, yes, but I can't take the comment unless you...
Well, the comment, all right, the comments are this is an overdevelopment. They make out it's a commercial development, but it's not. It's
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers for that.
What's your name, sorry? They make out it's a commercial development.
Thanks, Brian.
Oh, it's social as well. People socialise there. The area looks terrible. It's already got more than enough and more than enough antennas on it.
Okay.
So they're overdeveloping it now by adding more. And the report said there was only 5 antennas in there's 9.
Cheers, mate.
You know, it's there's the evidence.
Yeah,
there's
I
a lot
heard you say
more.
that in the thing. And I'll just look this up tomorrow to save you from going over it. But is it ICNER?
The ICNER certificate, yes.
I see.
Sorry?
How
It's
do
the
you-
International Commission for non-ionizing...
Ionization production.
And it's
Okay.
IC, ICNER,
Okay.
ICNIRP.
IRP,
Yeah,
okay.
you ought to Google it.
And you said it's not worth
No,
the
it's
paper
not.
it's written on?
No, and it's
Got a
there is
disclaimer
no
on it.
there is no
Yeah, I'll look at that.
there's no liability, cannot develop. As far as I'm concerned now, this council has just voted to take full liability for anyone who's harmed. And they
actually state that they cannot protect people
Yes.
who have
what they don't understand
implants and
what they don't
pacemakers.
understand is that the planning officer was wrong. He said you can't take account of any health issues, which are not in the ICNER certificate. Not referred to by ICNER. But the thing is, it's referred to as an exclusion, and they wouldn't let me answer the question on insurance.
Yeah.
It's uninsurable for EMF harm.
Okay.
You know, so, and they do this, they limited me to 3 minutes. There was a lot I could have said, but the gist of mine was, the consultation was awful. They put in an ICNER, and the ICNER had 8 errors on it. So we pointed all of these out to say, reject this application.
Yeah.
So they let the applicant put another ICNER and sneak it in. One of the faults was they used a dissolved company's name, which is a name of a company that has that used to deal with furniture. It was nothing to do with IT.
Okay.
And that went out of business 10 years ago.
Go a bit slower, Jean, so that the lady
okay.
can
Sorry, am I going too
make
fast?
the... Yeah.
It's just because I'm
okay.
annoyed.
It's okay,
Yeah.
don't worry.
That's
I'll
the gist
have a
of
look-
it,
Okay,
really.
thank you for that.
I
I'll
mean,
put that in.
people do try to... What we've got here, there's 2 successes here, really. We've got members now who are
Vote
awake,
against,
and
yeah.
also we've got evidence now that the original ICNER certificate was defective,
Okay.
which means it should not have been validated. So they are in breach of the law. They will have no cover whatsoever. And can you also add, we've written to the monitoring officer asking for an investigation.
Okay.
We wanted 3 people to speak today to cover
Right.
these urgent issues, and we were allocated 1 minute each.
Okay.
So in the end, we ended up with 1 speaker, 3 minutes, which was made.
Yeah.
So basically, this is happening up and down the country, and we've got evidence now. You know, I sit on groups, and I'm going to feed this back to them, because we've been looking for a case that admits the 3UK is an issue, because that applicant took it off version 2. But there's no signatures. There's on this. They've got the names of the company. There's no what do you call? Oh, for goodness sake! There's no company's house information. There's no it must be urgent.
Don't worry, it's all right. I've got
I'm sorry about that.
here. I can include in the article.
Do you know the Spanish flu was caused by 3G?
Yeah.
You know that one?
We're already just revisiting
Yeah, yeah. I'll
That killed
include
millions.
that. I'll include that comment in the article. It's Emma Morgan. I'm the local democracy reporter, so it's like it's the Echo. I'm employed by both.
Then neither of them are renowned for telling the truth. We've had experience with the
Well, I
Echo,
covered
and
everything,
we've
and
got
I wanted essentially really to make sure it's all reported on there, because as you know, we've written to the monitoring officer and put all these issues, and we've had no responses. So we are going to take these up really. And also, Uncle Rome misled that committee today by saying the insurance on EMF is irrelevant. Well, it's not, because it excludes pacemakers and people with metal implants. And basically, so therefore it's been confirmed that it is relevant. And it's so relevant that because there's an exclusion, it's uninsurable for EMF harm. So you've got that, that structure there is got no insurance, zero health and safety documentation, nothing about the zones, really, you know, the exclusion zones. We don't know anything about the antenna and the nature of those and what's in there. You know, I mean,
you know what? They just shouldn't be near people. They should be a mile away.
Yeah.
Non-ionising microwave radiation causes cancer. It's
Yeah.
been clearly evidenced in major researches all over the world. I've been researching it for about 20 years, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm
KB
not
has a
proud
high
of
rate of
anything.
cancer,
Absolutely.
particularly head and neck cancer in males.
Absolutely.
Can I say, Steve, that this is one of the problems? If they go into those areas, it covers over issues.
Yeah,
that we have
there's no spike because it's
no,
already
no.
there.
This is the problem.
If you take forward, please email me, detail them, and I'll approach the monitor officer and the head of planning as well. But just thank you very much for all you know, all you did, and I'm sorry it never went your way on this occasion.
I was quite impressed I got 7.
To have 7 is it's not bad.
The
well done
apologies.
Well done for
Because I know 2 people who would have voted against.
Who's that?
They may have voted against.
Who are they?
They're independent councillors.
Yeah.
Right.
They may have voted against.
Yeah. See, Graham Morgan wasn't there, was he?
It's too hot, isn't it, staying in?
Yeah,
I was disappointed he wasn't there.
Be careful
really.
with that.
Oh, okay.
Because they have I can assume, you know, I can't say on their behalf.
Okay. So,
But
I mean, the bottom line is we don't have any skin in the game at all. We've got no ulterior motive. We don't get paid for it. It costs us money. She put so much work into it, does Jean? And it's all about their kids and their grandchildren, the safety of them. We're not doing
Honestly,
it.
I have been researching it for years. I'm
she
electrosensitive.
Yeah, she's most experienced.
So there's clear evidence that it causes cancer.
I was-
Non-ionising microwave radiation causes cancer. I can talk to you
I
forever
was doing
about it
some
with
research
clear
for the last couple of
evidence.
days, and I was looking for
Look for
you know, cancer and health.
Programme.
But you have to really dig. Everything's positive. Oh no, it's no health problem. There's no health problem. And you have to go over a few pages before you start to pick up, you know, items on it. You know.
But you know, in containment and ICNIRS, the guidelines, it says it relies on the ICNIRS certificates. It stands on their own 2 feet.
It's got a disclaimer on it.
See, I didn't get a chance to say this. I didn't get a chance to answer the insurance thing. I had to pick what because I only had 3 minutes, I had to pick the key points because I wanted them recording.
Yeah, very difficult.
It was really, the amount I wanted to say was terrible, but what happened is the process is that the planning officer speaks when he doesn't know anything. He has no idea about this.
He refers a lot to national policy and guidance, and that's all he spouts. You know what I mean? I'm following national policy and following guidance.
This is the problem, you see.
And they all go a FICNA, which
is really bad.
There's a disclaimer.
So it's sort of like an accident waiting to happen, isn't it? But really, I believe they're putting up harmful equipment everywhere, and yet the system works against people. Excuse me, there's a problem here. I don't know what more I could have done today, really.
There's a few other people in our group who are suffering as a result of these. If they go anywhere near them, they know, they hear them, they feel them.
Listen, I'm electrosensitive.
I know you just said it.
I
I
don't
know
have
you just
anything.
said that.
And
It's not just
I'm
you.
a sane and stable woman.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I feel sorry, anyone who uses that area, and it's, you know, to help the people walk there to get the plants and things like that.
The people who work there, my
And the
team
people
works
who
there,
work
and
there.
Yeah.
you know what, I did a campaign years and years ago to get it stopped, and it was stopped and sort of just forgotten about for a while, and then for a good few years.
You see, here the report said there's 5 antennas. Well, you know, there's one behind there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I can see, and there might be some more over the other side. And they call that high building, but it's not, is it really?
No.
And the photographs they showed were disgraceful. because they were from the wrong angle where you can actually see it. You either see it from a distance. You could see that when you sit on the floor.
If
in
I
the
took,
shopping.
I've got all kinds of meters, professional ones, little ones for the house. If I took you to that area and put my meter on, the alarm goes off. The alarm goes off because the radiation is so enormously high there.
It's terrible. So, but what can we do? I mean, we're just
try and keep fighting. And next year, if the political landscape continues the way it's going, you might have a Labour majority in Knowsley Council. But there might be a different outlook and a different attitude to things, you know?
Yeah.
I'm independent.
Yeah.
Let's do beating independence.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely, they're not.
When we look over our shoulder, we see you, we don't see a political party. We
Do
see
you know,
you.
do you know the
We're
ones?
there to represent
Do you know
you.
the ones who go to the games? Do you know what party they?
Labour.
Yeah.
And
Some
there was a
Labour
rule.
Oh, no,
vote
sorry,
before.
no.
There was a reform
Those
vote.
people who voted in favour of me, they were into it, all Labour. I think.
Gary Singh, which is a real positive because he's from Roby, isn't he? And he said we
That was good to see. That was good to see.
Yeah.
You know,
So
that's
we've
very
got to
rare you
keep
get
them-
that.
We've got to keep them out
But
of
they were
our...
Are the
there.
rest of them all independent or different?
There was
reforms?
one
Was it reform?
independent, there was a couple of reforms, Lib Dem,
Yeah.
I think Greens,
Yeah.
there's Greens there as well.
I can't believe it, you know, because I thought I would only have you voting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was
So
wonderful,
that's
that.
quite,
That was
they
wonderful.
thought I'd won the thing, but I was just upset. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So I'm quite pleased because the message is out there.
Yeah.
Believe the hours.
See, they're all looking for you there, eh?
Yeah,
They
the
can make
hours,
them wait. You
terrible.
wouldn't believe the hours.
I know,
Yeah.
terrible.
So if you want me to follow anything up, just send me an email.
I will do. We're still going to ask all these questions formally.
Yeah.
We're going to insist upon meetings because I'm going to make an issue of it, and I've reported to the Liverpool, okay.
Yeah.
Whether we can trust her is another matter.
Well, I know, the only thing with them, you leave the council the last say, so they
Yeah.
just won't put your
Well,
arguments.
the bottom line is, we've done it. If she prints the wrong thing, then fine. As they say, there's no publicity.
Like
There's
bad
such thing as
publicity.
bad publicity, is there?
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Cheers now.
Much appreciated.
Cheers, thanks.
Thank you.
I got this, I got one.
George. That barrier is down. Hey, well done. Well done. Oh, no, cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Well done. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't believe it when he said, what's different? I can't do
Oh, they've gone. Yeah, it's just the way it works. Yes, I'll do an interview. And also, George, you need interviews from the others as well.
Right, okay.
Because it was pretty bad.
Okay.
Hey, I've got 4 behind me, 7 of me.
Come on, how did it go then, Jean?
Can you just cut off for a minute?
Okay, I'll just pan it for a bit, yeah. I'll pan it round to where the original 5G towers was, which was up there.
Low battery on that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, just under this, yeah. Okay, Jean, so how did it go?
Yes, this was Knowsley Planning Committee. We objected to St Chad's shopping parade in Kirby. It's a 5G application. We did our best on behalf of you, Kirby, so I hope you're proud of us. Although we didn't win the vote, we were quite pleased that we had 7 councillors who backed us, which is really quite some considerable progress, because at one time we couldn't get anybody. So I spoke on behalf of the Merseyside Residents Association, and I would say it went better than I thought. Obviously we didn't win, but I'd say it went better than I thought because of the support really that we did have in the room. I was quite pleased about it. Predictably, the Chief Planning Officer and the applicant just either ignored or tried to destroy our objections. So I think the vote went 10 for and 7 against, which, as I say, I was quite pleased with some progress. The councillors, I can't even say that the councillors did appear to be listening, but perhaps they must have been for the ones who voted against. We planned to have 3 speakers today, and but we were constrained really. So if we had 3 speakers, we could only have 1 minute each, which was just nonsense. So instead it was decided that we should speak. At every step in this, there's been problems over trying to get our voices heard with planning. They just shut us down. In our opinion, they're on the side of the telecoms industry, or they're frightened of being fined from them. But basically, our objections were surrounding it being an overdevelopment, just an exploitation of a rooftop in St Chad's Parade, which is already looking worse for it. And they tried to make out it was 3 antennas when it wasn't. It was 9 pieces of hardware and going up there. It's just disgraceful. They weren't even talking about removing any of them, which I thought they might have done. There's been consultation breaches as well. When the ICNIRP was done, certificate, that's the safety certificate, when that was done, it had like 8 errors on it. So we told them it was wrong because we thought we'd get the application withdrawn. But what they did was they submitted another equally unsatisfactory ICNIRP certificate, which proved that we were actually right. So this is the legal loop that we think that they're in. There were inaccuracies in the committee report. They were saying that there's there's less antenna there than there really are. Why they would do that, I really don't know. So basically that's all that we covered. So we left them knowing that because the ICNIRP certificate doesn't count for anything, that there's no safety documentation at all. I regret that they didn't make it subject to asking for the exclusion zones, because they don't provide them. They used to, and they don't because they reveal that there's an issue, so that's why they didn't. So we also mentioned about the EMF effect on implantable medical devices such as pacemakers and defibrillators, and those with metal medical implants. And the list of metal implants it's extensive. It includes 2 fillings, which is why people think they've got sensitive teeth. It's the EMF. So, as expected, the planning committee, the planning officer attempted to sweep away our issues, but we're not going anywhere. We've logged letters with the monitoring officer for Knowsley Council, and we're going to follow those up, and we're not letting them get away with this. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what happens. So for the information for the viewers who may not understand this issue, 5G is directional beamforming technology, and it behaves very differently from 4G. The beams move out to lock on to devices. So, what happens if you get in the way of the beam? Also, it's not for mobile phones and faster internet. They can tell you that. What it's for is digital ID, greater surveillance, driverless cars, drones, everything that we don't want. And it's all aimed at a 15-minute city. That's the thing. You won't be able to go anywhere. You'll be fined every 5 minutes. And there's a pilot in Oxford that's not going very well. It's happening now. So it really is a disgrace. I don't know how else to put it over, but we're not finished with this. We think we've unfortunately lost this argument, but we believe that the council is in breach, and it is that we will follow up, because unless we educate these planning officers, they will continue to do this. And that's all really I can say.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Jean. Does anyone else want to jump on?
No, that'll do.
Does anyone else?
Your phone's gonna die, man.
Was mine just too long then?
No, it was boss that. Okay, people, thank you very much for joining us. Going to call it a day on this feed. I'll see you next time.